One. This. Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Sunday, November 5th, 2023, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Now Mind You podcast. We're your hosts. I'm TJ.
I'm Matt.
I'm Bryce.
Thank you for matching my energy, fellas. Now, with that, this is episode 90. Combat. We're in the 90s for combat now. We've been in the 90s for manga. We're gonna come up on 100 episodes for both pretty soon. With that being said, what are we covering today? We are going to be covering UFC Fight Night Sao Paulo, Brazil. Right? Jailton Almeida versus Derek Lewis. Right? I don't know what that accent went.
Yeah,
the second
you
half
went
of
straight
that.
Russian.
But with that being said, what we have on this card, we had the main event, we had, or I should say main card, excuse me. We had Brenner versus Krzyzewski, both Brazilian. Those are some non-Brazilian sounding names, but if you look at the history of Brazil, this is not uncommon. Brenner versus Krzyzewski at a catchweight. I think they were fighting on 165, so maybe they were trying to make lightweight, but they both couldn't make it. And plus, a couple fights that were originally on this main card pulled out. I think Pichel versus Bonfim. The other Bonfim was supposed to be here, and some dudes missed weight. Then we had Caio Borralho, aka Brazilian Steve-O, versus Abbas Magomedov, right, at middleweight. Then, of course, we had Rodrigo Nascimento versus Dontel Mays at heavyweight, as they say in Brazil. Then we had Bonfim versus Dalby at welterweight for the co-main. And, of course, for the main event, we had Jailton Almeida versus Lewis at heavyweight. With that being said, I'm gonna kick us out by talking about Brenner versus Krzyzewski. Like I mentioned during me explaining the docket, this was a catchweight bout at about 165, so I'm guessing they both missed weight severely. But they're also kind of like a last-minute replacement because I think Vink Pichel versus not Gabriel Bonfim, but the other Bonfim were originally scheduled to fight in that slot, but Bonfim had missed weight and Vink Pichel was pissed, which makes sense because I mean that's your payday, right? But look, I honestly thought that Krzyzewski was doing a good job in the first half. He had me in the first half, not gonna lie. Then Brenner set up a right hand. No, it was a left hand first, then a right hand that I think honestly looked like it grazed the top of his head. And next thing you know, Krzyzewski is dead on his feet and landing face first. He turned him into a chalk outline.
Yeah, he really did.
To me, it looked like it just grazed him. That's what's insane.
He hit him on the temple. The way the hook landed, it hit him on the temple.
It was the camera angle that had me thinking it grazed the top.
Yo, the camera angle had me thinking the first punch is what knocked him out.
No.
The punch that he missed is the one I thought he finished him with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When
it was too quick.
Yeah. When they showed it back in slow motion, this is just overly nerdy on me. This is the exact same finish that Jorge Masvidal put on Darren Till. They threw with the switch step, like switched through the combo, switched his feet, and basically switched the power hand, and swung that right, swung that left, caught him on the temple trying to slide out, put him to sleep. Shit was crazy.
Turned him into a chalk outline. Bryce, what'd you think?
Man, I felt the same way Matt did. Like I swear, I was like, wait a minute, I was like, he pulled like a secret move, a secret technique out his ass. Like I was just like,
where you pull some Kenshiro shit? You're already dead.
Oh my one more dead.
Like I really thought it was like like he got hit with the first punch and then it was a delayed reaction. I was like, dang.
It was
that motherfucker got hit so hard, his body
His body initially rejected it.
Body lag. Yeah, I was just like, damn.
Body lag.
But yeah, it was he was piecing him up. It was a good job on his part. Honestly, he I think he caught him with the overhand beforehand, and then that was when he decided to put that pep on. That's what he put the seasoning on. Yeah, that was.
I mean, what an opener for the main card.
Yeah,
let's be real. Yeah. Apparently, the prelims were cooking too.
Yeah, it seems like I feel like the opening card was. I mean, this was a good fight. I don't think the energy was I don't think it caught on, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, I know where you're getting at. Well, shit. Who wants to take us into Bohalio versus Magomedov?
I'll go to it. So we had, how do I say his first name?
Kaya.
We had Caio Borralho versus Abus Magomedov. Now I'm just not gonna lie to you. Shit been getting spooky for the niggas with the consonants in their last names, so I definitely was worried.
No, but Matt, he's repping Germany, so it's not the same.
I get that, but
I know. I know, brother.
I know. See, that doesn't comfort me. That's what they be saying too. Brother, no, I'm not your brother. You've been doing this ground and pound shit for the last 25 minutes. Anyway. So we got Borralho versus Magomedov. Borralho, as TJ was saying, even a little bit before we got on air, like this dude has like that it factor. He has a star, kind of a star quality about him. 30 years old, fighting in the middleweight division, which honestly is starting to look more and more like, if you really look at it, like the glamour division for Brazilians. Like they be in that middleweight division. They be in there pretty decent too. But at any rate, he's trying to make a name for himself within the UFC and kind of has been building his name up. He's another one of those Contender Series guys that's converted over. He actually was on the Contender Series twice in the same year before finally getting his contract. And he's been undefeated ever since. He only has one loss on his record, and that was way before he got to the UFC. And he's, pretty much done nothing but go up in competition since he's got there. And on the other end, you got Magomedov, who is coming off of a loss to Sean Strickland. That was back in July of this year, which
it's important to note he had a lot of hype behind him too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, shit, look at the name, right?
Yeah, right.
But I will say, to his credit, that loss has aged very well because the person he lost to went on to become middleweight champion. And is currently the middleweight champion. At any rate, he's looking to get back on the horse, and Borralho was looking to keep his momentum going. And the word that I wrote down in my notes for this fight was footwork. That was the biggest difference. I felt like Borralho was able to really just dance the entire fight. And don't get me wrong, there were quite a few exchanges, and this fight pretty much took place entirely on the feet. There was no wrestling. There was a little bit of like grappling. There was no real wrestling. And by grappling,
he shot a few takedowns.
He shot a few takedowns, but I felt like those were like give me space shots. I didn't feel like he was really going for them. Because like I felt like this fight primarily was fought stand up, but I felt like the like what I got right here is like Magomed's feet are just moving through the mud. Like he was so flat footed. It was basically like he was, and I mean this without any offense, but like he had a wrestler's approach with his footwork. Like he was very heavy on his feet. He was very heavy in his hips. And Borralho was just very light on his feet, stayed on the balls of his feet, was kind of bouncing in and out. And that made it where he didn't have to, it made it where when they had exchanges, he didn't have to stay there.
Right.
Like when they would have exchanges, if he felt like it wasn't going his way, he would get out. And that just never seemed like it was an option for Magomedov. Now, what I'll give Magomedov credit for was I felt like he was constantly coming forward and he was trying to push the action, but I just felt like he was just too slow. Like he just couldn't, like his feet just were not.
He was a step behind. Well, I wonder too if it's like he wanted to correct for his approach with Strickland, because in that approach he was hella explosive, but that ended up costing him a lot. So I think even the commentators, Brendan, Paul, and Dominic, I'm sorry, not Brendan, Paul, Brendan, Michael, and Dominic were saying, like, you can't just completely abandon what got you to where you are in the first place. And he might have been a little bit too cautious for his own good. And to touch back on the grappling, too, let's not forget that Borralho got his back a few times. There were some rear naked choke attempts.
That's true.
That's
true. Yeah, I mean, it was the one that he had at the very end.
Yeah.
Well, actually, and you're right. Actually, I want to talk about that, the closing sequence of that fight when he actually finally got that knockdown, because I felt like, again, going back to the footwork, because Rogelio was just moving so much, and obviously that seemed like that was his style because that's how he came out in the first round, bouncing and shit. Like Magomedov was just chasing him. He wasn't doing a great job of cutting the cage off, and they weren't like at the apex, so they were in a big cage. So he was able to move, he really was able to move around, and he just didn't even have the footwork to really be able to cut him off. And I think that really attributed to the fatigue that he was feeling in that last round. And that's not to discredit Rogelio for the work he was putting on him, but I felt like a lot of, look, we fought before, right? Like damage is much more cumulative when you're already tired. Once you're tired, everything is amplified. And I think he was already exhausted at that point. And, he pretty much just crumbled once he got him up on that cage, and then he just jumped on his back after that. And thankfully it was the clock ran out, because I think if it was 30 seconds left, he would have finished him. But those are my thoughts. Sorry, I know I got a little long-winded on that, y'all. My bad. I'll pass it to you, TJ.
I already gave my thoughts.
Pass it to you then, Bryce.
No, I think you covered it. You covered it very well. I think Kyle just was able to just dance around Abbas, and the entire fight he was just trying to catch him, and it didn't work out in his favor. The shots he did get, towards the end, like you said, was probably just out of fatigue. I just think that was a very strong showing by Ohio, and he's I'm curious about what he'll do going forward. It'll be interesting to see him go against maybe a grappler or someone that would be able to match that pace he has.
He called out Drickus.
Yeah. So, yeah. Overall, I think you covered it to a T. But it was a good bout. So, we're going into the next one.
Yeah,
heavyweights.
Yeah.
All right. Heavyweights. Rodrigo Ferreira versus Dante Almeida. Now, I hope nobody takes offense to this, but
okay.
I knew what was gonna happen before this fight, because Rodrigo got that battle belt. He got the muffin top.
Wait, did you say a battle belly?
He got the battle belly. Yeah.
Okay.
He got, like, if you look at what's dude from the heavyweights, Tito, Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa, he got the flaps on the side. That means you got hands in UFC. Okay. If you see that, you in trouble. DC had that shit. If you got the belly parts,
I don't.
No problem.
I don't agree with the framing of this, but there's data to back it up.
Data. Data.
Was it, Matt? You're out of line, but
he's right. Out of line, but he's right.
Data. The battle belly, just know what's gonna happen.
Here's the thing, though, Bryce. He was actually more shredded than we've ever seen him before. He's actually way fluffier than that. I feel like the last time we saw him in the octagon,
he reached his potential. It's like a Saiyan tail. I don't know. He just maxed it. It's funny. Looking at the data, this is one time where the data don't really tell you, but in watching the fight, it actually paints a very different story than what the numbers say. So I like my numbers. As I said, Rodrigo Ferreira versus Dante Almeida. Total strikes, Rodrigo had 91 out of 180. Dante had 105 out of 190.
Oh shit!
Rodrigo had 70 out of 154. Dante had 79 out of 159. Rodrigo had 0 out of 3 takedowns. Dante had 0 out of 1. Now, if I'm telling you this and you didn't watch the fight, you'd be like, how the hell did Dante Almeida win? How the hell did Dante Almeida lose? Well, the answer to that is the first 2 rounds, Rodrigo was very dominant.
Yeah.
He pieced up Dontel Mays every chance he got. Dontel Mays, very strong, very durable. There were a couple times in the first round I felt like he was almost out the gate.
Dog is the word.
In that first round.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dog.
But Dontel kept it going, kept it forward. Tried to get rid of the shots, or tried to like get his base back. And it did help him. I think that kind of worked in his favor later on in the round, which I'll get into later. But as I said, Rodrigo was piecing him up for the most part. Dontel's strikes weren't that far off. I believe for the first 2 rounds, Rodrigo was up on strikes, maybe like 5 to 6. Now, what's interesting is when that 3rd round came, it seemed Rodrigo gassed out. He was getting tired. His pace wasn't the same. He wasn't getting them strikes as much as he was the first 2 rounds, even though they were decisively his. Dontel was catching up in that 3rd round. If I don't know what would happen if they had like a 4th or 5th round, but that would be very interesting to see. But basically, Rodrigo just had his number to that 3rd round where like fatigue kicked in, and as Matt said, when that fatigue starts kicking in, those strikes kind of get a little heavier. So yeah, very good showing. Very interesting to see the numbers. But yeah, it was definitely Rodrigo's fight that night. I'll pass it on to TJ.
Well, too little, too late, nigga. Not to you, Bryce. To Mays, it's like, yeah, you have, but it's like what was that letting go of the hands in the first 2 rounds? Obviously, he was probably hoping for a finish or something like that. But I agree with. Okay, let me preface this with, again, I don't agree with how Bryce framed it, but the data does back it up. And it looked like Nascimento had some abs low key, so he's been training. Because again, I feel like the last time I saw him in the octagon, he was like way puffier and he was looking a little bit more shredded, and he was letting those hands go. He damn near put Mays away in the first round. In all honesty, like he really hurt him, and Mays hung in there. And just the amount of damage Mays was taking with the elbows, the 1-2s, the upper, it's like, god damn. Yeah. I think the other thing that impressed me too with Rodrigo is I didn't know his English was that good during the Octagon interview. I was like, oh, because that's also a big thing in whether or not you can become a star. Is like, can you speak English? And his English is on point. Very entertaining fight, in all honesty. Very, very entertaining. I have nothing else to add. Matt, I'll pass it to you.
The one thing that I really took away the most out of this fight was like we're really seeing to a degree a different breed of heavyweights. Like I remember both of these guys basically would have been previously like if you would drop either of these guys in like the UFC in 2004, they are Junior Dos Santos. And like what I mean by that is like heavyweights that just are active with their hands every round. Like regardless of how tired Fajeda got, like at the end, he was still letting his hands go. That pace just was not what it was at first. But to see these, 200 plus pound guys, 2 guys over 250, over 230, to be bouncing on their feet for 15 minutes and to let their hands go, just to see the maturation of the division is like really crazy. I agree with pretty much everything y'all said. I mean, you guys pretty much painted a good picture. I just think, I think if this fight went 2 more rounds, I think Dontel probably could have stopped him just because he had a lot of dog in him. There was, even when he was hurt, there was never a point, like he never yielded in this fight. He never once like showed his belly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was always like in it. Like it was like if you gonna beat him, you're gonna have to get him all the way out of here because it doesn't seem like he wants to leave. So I don't know, but that's my standing on it. You guys want to go into this next one?
Let's get it.
Let's do it.
All right. Our next one
was fucking crazy.
It really was. We had Gabriel Bonfim versus Nicholas Dalby. not Darby, Dalby.
Crazy back
This fight
tattoo.
was, huh?
Crazy back tattoo, bro.
Crazy
He's got
back
the
tat.
feathers going, looking like, you know how Wolverine's uniform looks?
Yeah. Crazy back tat. Crazy hair dye in the braids. Everything was very wild about this dude. I'm really not gonna
we
hold
shouldn't
you.
have been surprised with the result, in all honesty, just based on his appearance. But go on.
Listen, sometimes you see a guy in the UFC off a visual, and they fight exactly how they look.
This was that.
This is that case. Like Nicholas Dalby. So obviously he knew he was there to fight.
Dogby, yes, Nicholas Dogby.
If he was there to lose, somebody didn't tell him. He didn't know. Nicholas Dalby, like, took. I need to go back. I'm sorry. I know it's taking me a minute. I need to go back and look at like what his coach told him, because this fight is literally a story of 2 rounds. This fight was 2 different fights in one. Like in the first round, we got Gabriel is getting busy. I mean, like, he is touching Nicholas Dalby up. He's getting takedowns on him. Like, he is having his MMA way with this man. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, man, it's looking bad. Even the commentators are like, wow, like, you know, that was a pretty dominant first round. Like, Nicholas Dalby was in it, but he clearly lost that round. I'm not talking 10-8, you know, it wasn't like that, but it was a clear 10-9. He came out of a fucking cannon in that second round. This dude was on Gabriel like white on rice. He was not letting this dude breathe. He was keeping the pressure up. He even shot for a takedown. And I think the pressure was just so overwhelming. And we saw an instance of, and I don't mean to call this out like in a disrespectful way, but we saw that Gabriel didn't know how to fight off his back foot.
Yeah.
So he couldn't fight moving backwards. He had to either plant his feet or come forward. And that ultimately is what cost him in this fight. And once he was able to finally stop, when he finally was able to stop and felt like he was comfortable throwing, he was backed up to the cage. And once that happened to him in that second round, it was all elementary from there. Like, it was tie clinch, elbows, knees, body punches, hooks to the head. I mean, Nicholas Dalby unloaded the command list on this dude on the cage until he eventually just wilted under the pressure. And what was that? Did he miss a punch? Did he counter him? Because he ended up falling. Oh, there was that knee.
I think it was a knee. Yeah.
He threw a knee while he was trying to throw like an overhand. He steps out the way and the guy just face plants and rolls on his back. And Nicholas is already right on top of him. The referee gets in there, stops it. You know, that was the end of the fight, man. Nicholas Dalby, like, he showed, I'm telling you, he was a completely different guy in the second round. I'm gonna pass it to TJ.
Look. The first round was essentially, like Matt said, a completely different right. You saw Bonfim putting on a guard passing clinic, doing something that we won't necessarily see in the main event for like a few rounds, where he was putting damage on Dalby from the mount, basically from top position. Anytime Dalby was providing any type of resistance, Bonfim was out here laying on the punishment. Round 2, honestly, even the start of round 2, I thought it was going to be similar to round 1, because you see Bonfim get like a Godzilla big head double leg into a single leg, and he even had Dalby in a Von Flu for a little bit. Like, let's not forget, like, he was like trying to choke this nigga out with his shoulder, and then I can't even remember how he fucking did it, but like, he got out of it. And he made Bonfim pay. Like, this was like the most insane come from behind finish I have ever seen, other than
saying he made him pay is the most accurate way to describe that too.
Like I mean, it was either that or like he took his day out on Bonfim. But like the only other thing I can think that surpasses this in terms of a come from behind victory, even though Derek Lewis has a bunch of these, I'd say Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman two, the second time they met up, because that's when we had the headshot bang, because that was insane. The reason why I'm saying that is because I had kind of written Dalby off up until that point in the round where I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And similar to Leon Edwards, like I kind of written him off too, and then he was like, wait, hold up, y'all. Boom, headshot. But yeah, that was insane. That might that might be fight of the night on that card. I wouldn't be surprised.
That was fight of the night for me.
Yeah,
it was definitely fight of the night for me. We ain't got a joke about it for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it over to Bryce.
Man, that nigga Dolby motherfucker had a flashback in the fucking corner. That motherfucker remembered what he was fighting for, and then the Naruto theme music started playing.
Remembered what he was fighting for. That's funny as hell.
He came in that round and said, he got him to that cage, and he's like Matt said, he started to let him go. He pulled out his Dolby Ninja handbook. That motherfucking Gabriel was sleep.
He was knocking on the door of awakening his inner Khalil. His inner
Roundtree.
Oh my
God.
Roundtree was coming. I was like, oh no.
Oh my God.
He was about to awaken it. I imagine everybody has like a Khalil Roundtree inside them. Like how Naruto saw Kurama inside him, like behind the fence.
Let's get out of hand.
I was like, he's beginning to believe, and it was like he was just looking more and more like,
oh my God,
like Khalil's like, yeah, he's gonna destroy this guy, man.
Yeah,
oh my God.
That's why he got the tattoo on his back. It's really a seal to help him
that's the seal.
Unlock it. Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I thought the tattoo on Dante Almeida's back looked hella similar to Naruto's seal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
but this is getting out of hand, fellas.
Bro, you can always tell the body types, bro. Anybody that got wings on their arms, they a wow factor.
Here we go.
Am I wrong? If you got the wings on your arms or your back?
You know what, Bryce? I'm not even going to debate it because I feel like
framing of it. That's what I don't like.
Data to back it up.
There's data.
Like how you're saying
data to back it up.
Data.
It's just the delivery. It's like,
I don't know what y'all tell y'all, man. I be seeing these things. Y'all gotta trust me. It's Big Tickle.
Relax.
All right.
Anyway,
next fight.
All right, we got Jailton Almeida versus Derek the Black Beast Lewis. This was a heavyweight. We had
Y'all hear Faith Evans?
No, not Faith Evans.
Somebody died?
Like... Somebody died. Bryce didn't say that shit.
Look, man, this is something that Matt has been saying how many times now? Wrestling. It wasn't jiu-jitsu. Here's the thing. When we had the jiu-jitsu exchanges, it was kind of surprising that Almeida couldn't do anything. I've never seen Mark Goddard get mad at someone being inactive on the top. Like, you have the dominant position and the ref is looking at you like, hey, nigga, do something or I'm going to stand y'all back up. And I know you don't want Derek Lewis back up on his feet, motherfucker. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Like a parent who's mad because their kid is sorry at whatever support they're taking.
Get your ass up. Get your ass up.
Like, don't look at me, nigga. Get to work. Like,
get up.
Embarrassing
me in here. Get up.
That was Mark Goddard's energy, bro. Like, I've never seen a ref get pissed off like that. In that,
because he came for swinging and banging.
Yeah, right.
He didn't come to see that.
Right.
Mark Goddard was probably excited as hell. Like, bro, I'm finna really see Derek Lewis knock somebody the fuck out right now. Like,
but it was basically just 5 rounds of the same shit.
Fuck.
I mean, Jailton's wrestling it wasn't jiu-jitsu, it was the wrestling, and Dominic Cruz like hit the nail on the head every time. Every time he shot that double leg, what did he do? Grab around the knees of Derek Lewis, because if you get the knees, you shut down the sprawl, and if you shut down the sprawl, then it's just a matter of time before you boop drop him, and that's what it ended up being. I really have nothing to add because every round was the same. I'm gonna pass it over. I'm gonna pass it over to Matt.
Look, man. This is what I'm gonna say. Derek Lewis, I'm gonna make my point before I make my point. Derek Lewis once headlined a UFC fighting Big Country.
Damn.
Oh my
So
god.
that tells you how long he's been in the UFC.
Yeah.
This is not a comment on his age necessarily, as much as it's one of those things where I believe the game has now surpassed him. Because think about what I just said about the last heavyweights, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not Derek Lewis. And that's not to say that it needs to be Derek Lewis. But like, even when you look at some of the guys he's beat, Derek Lewis has wins over guys within, current and previous generations. But like, when you look at the people who have beat him, these are guys that are a more quote unquote evolved heavyweight. Like his loss to Mark Hunt, and I bet you can guess how he lost to Mark Hunt. And I bet you can guess that shit got fight of the night. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like, this is a guy who has he has a win over Roy Nelson, Gabriel Gonzaga,
right?
Travis Brown. But the people who've beat him: Junior Dos Santos, Daniel Cormier, Cyril Gane, Sergey Spivak, Sergey Pavlovich, Waganu, and Tai Tuivasa.
All right.
And then you look at this guy, you got Almeida. It's like a style that's not really prevalent in like this. Actually made me want to see him versus Curtis Blades, to be honest.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too.
Probably the first is, and I don't mean any offense when I say this about Curtis Blades neither, but it's like the first time I've been like, I want to see this guy fight Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades ends up fighting everybody anyway, but like, I've never want to be like, nah, let me see you wrestle him. Because that's the wrestler really in their division.
Yeah.
Like I would, oh man. Yeah, that was really my main takeaway was like, I just wrote like Curtis, I wrote Blades ? Like let's get it. You know what I'm saying? But I just hated to see Derek Lewis kind of go out like that, but that's kind of also, that's the phase. That's kind of how it goes. Like he has been surpassed within the division. He's always going to be entertaining to watch, but in my opinion, I think he's only going to beat certain people.
Yeah.
And certain styles and certain guys are just going to always be trouble for him. And, we all know wrestling and grappling and things like that aren't his strong suit, and typically Derek Lewis is known for his anti-jiu-jitsu, like just get up.
Yeah.
But just get up doesn't work just get up works when you can overpower a guy. And true enough, there were times that he did kind of just get up on him, but the wrestling was able to get him back on the ground. And I think in a lot of instances when he was able to explode and get a guy off of him, they weren't able to stick to him. Being able to get his wrestling going early while they were still dry, I think, and this is just in my opinion, I'm not speaking as a grappler myself, but I think being able to already get that grab on them and get those reps on them while they were still dry might have made it easier as the fight went on, because it was just elementary every time he got a hold of them. Like, I think I saw somewhere that he had like 22 minutes of top control or like 22 minutes of ground control. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a 5-round fight. That's 20 out of 25 minutes. You know what I'm saying? That's insane.
He kind of broke the record, I think, that was held by Curtis Blades. It was like 19 minutes or something of ground control.
Curtis, it's a fight on the table for you, brother. Title contention fight for you, brother. But those are my thoughts on it. What's left? Bryce? Is it on Bryce? Is it on Bryce?
Yeah, big tip. So
oh my gosh.
Nah, just piggybacking off of what Matt said, I think he made the point very clear when it comes to like the evolution of the heavyweight division. not only the previous heavyweight fight, but to see heavyweights with such a specialty. And because of that specialty, they just climb through the fucking division. Like, yes, they can still get caught with someone with just a good right and a good left. That's always going to be the case with heavyweights. But once you get past that, the level of difference is just insane. You see that with Curtis and his wrestling. You see that with Almeida and his wrestling. You see that with Cyril Gane and his footwork and his kickboxing. And of course, John Jones is there. You see that with him just being who he was.
Yeah.
Even DC being as dominant as he was. Well, no, that was light heavyweight, but he was the heavyweight champion. He did have.
I mean, hold on. You could put DC in there. Don't forget, like, DC was undefeated as a heavyweight before he went to 205. He only went to 205 so he wouldn't have to fight Kane. DC,
Same
he came
team.
into the UFC at heavyweight. He was a, like, you could give him them flowers.
Yeah. Well, DC.
Look them DC highlights up, man. When he was in what was he at? Not Bellator,
Strike Force.
And Strike. Woof, boy. Do your Googles.
Do my Googles. I gotta do my Googles. I gotta
do your Googles, bro.
I gotta do my Googles. Okay. I'm writing that down. Do my Googles. But yeah, so just to see this is just a prime example of that, what Matt was saying. Like, we're going into a new way of how the heavyweight division is going to work. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be interesting in very different ways because of how USADA's not going to be there anymore.
Oh my God.
That is a whole different conversation that needs to be had. There are a lot of fights I want to see Almeida do. I want to see Almeida versus Blades, Almeida versus Gane. I want to see him versus Jones. You know, these specialty heavyweights. I think they're definitely gonna. If we're gonna get more of them, how the heavyweight division is gonna look in a couple of months will be very interesting. Let's say a year.
We all know who the future though of the heavyweight division is.
Aspinall.
Yeah,
I'm latching my horse down, man. I'm telling you, I'm not no bandwagon either. Y'all do y'all Googles.
Well, we're about to see it next week.
Aspinall too. Yeah, right. Because he's
interim.
fighting for he's fighting for the interim belt, right?
Yes,
yeah,
bro.
Versus Logano.
Hey, this actually is a good segue. Let's just talk about that what we got next week, because that kind of concludes the card. Actually, before we get into next week's card, what was everybody's fight of the night? I'm sorry.
Definitely Dalby versus Bonfim. That shit was insane.
Same.
And was it Brenner versus Krzyzewski? The opener was a pretty close second.
I had the Braulio fight was my favorite one until I saw the Bonfim Dalby fight.
Yeah.
Just because I just liked the movement. I just thought aesthetically it was just basically a kickboxing match. I really enjoyed it.
Bryce?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The Dalby fight, the Dalby finish was insane.
Yeah.
All right, so in that regard, next week, what's up, TJ?
No, I was looking at I'm on the UFC website looking at the 295 main card.
Yeah, so next week
God.
Exactly. That's why I was excited. We got UFC 295. The main event is Yuri Prochazka versus Alexander Pereira for the interim light heavyweight title.
No, it's light heavyweight title.
Oh, it's for the legit light heavyweight?
Yeah.
All right, for the light heavyweight championship.
Co-main is interim.
The co-main event. Oh, got you. The co-main event is Sergey Pavlovich Waganu versus Tom Aspinall for the interim heavyweight title. Oh my God.
Look at women's.
Yes. We also have Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern.
Hey, if Mackenzie Dern is still on that divorce anger,
boy, if she release her Anna Khalil,
oh my God, Matt, we can't.
Nah, bro, that's what she did to. I'm telling you. Hold up. No, I know we be going on tangents, but I gotta take it there. I need y'all to understand that, like,
she did to Angie Hill,
bro. I've never seen her like that in my life. I was like, yo, what is happening right now? Like, I've never seen this girl even throw that many strikes. Even like my wife, who is like just a casual fan, right? She recognizes certain fighters that she'll see constantly, but we watch fights every weekend. She'll even ask, "Oh, who's fighting?" But she was watching this fight with me. And she was like, "Yo, what got into Mackenzie Dern?" Like, she's like, "That girl don't usually fight like that, do she?" I was like, "No, Brittany, she doesn't." It was insane to see her just like, that shit was wild.
You tapped into the Khalil energy.
Khalil force, man.
The Khalil force is real.
And then we got
the Roundtree Rage. The Rage of Roundtree, boy. Then we got Matt Frivola versus Benoit St. Dennis. And then opening, which is, oh my God, that is a banger.
Speedster versus Grappler.
Diego Lopez versus Pat Sabatini.
Now, if you're wondering why Diego Lopez's name might be familiar, it's because he almost broke Evloev's fucking knee on his debut. Then he won against fucking Tucker by submission.
Basically broke Gavin Tucker's arm.
It wasn't you're right, he broke. I think that was one of the fights where I told you not to look at it, Matt. But anyway. Both of his fights I told you not to look at them.
This guy's scary.
And then oh man, shitty tattoos. That's another.
Hey,
I told you it's a red flag.
I tapped into the Bryce energy. But
it's a red flag, man.
But the other thing too, y'all remember, he's also the head grappling coach at Los Lobos, so he's more than likely.
God, I didn't know.
Remember?
Yeah. That's why that 1-2 was so nasty on him, bro.
They have that signature style. It's crazy, or you can tell like the whole school anyway. But this card looks like it's gonna be insane. I'm not, because even like Benoit Saint Denis, he's been putting up numbers, and by numbers I mean bodies, because I feel like his last few fights have been finishes. Like, look, yeah, dude, last 3 all finishes, 1 sub, 2 KOs. Everyone's on violence next week.
Oof, that's all we're gonna be covering next week for our combat sports episode. So with that said, this has been another episode of the Now Mind You podcast, Combat Edition. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. You can follow all of us on social media. You can find me at Matt Hambrick. That's MattHambric. TJ.
I'm gonna hit y'all with the regular voice because I'm like a little bit too hype on 295. Y'all can find me on Instagram at TussForSkate. That's CUSS4_SKATE. And where can they find? I'm like still thinking about 295. Y'all, I'm sorry. Where can they find you, Bryce?
Y'all can find me on Instagram. That's Akshay_Onsa. That's AXE_ONCA. Baby. And where can they find us?
They can find us at Now Mind You Podcast. They can find us
about 295 too. I get it.
Was actually. I'm literally looking at it.
I'm tripping over my fucking words right now.
You can find us at the Now Mind You Podcast at NA. God damn it, this podcast is fucking me up. You can find us at Now Mind You Podcast wherever you guys like to get your social media and wherever you like to get your podcast. We're on all platforms. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. I apologize for fumbling through all of that, and we will see you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace.